truth.
I'm Jim Price, the Jim Price Show Daily Update. Thank you so much. Let's try it again. I'm Jim Price, the Jim Price Show Daily Update. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Oh, let's make up the date like the government does, because it's July 30th. It's a Tuesday, 2026. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. Yes, that is right. We have, it is the end of this here month-o, and so we're going to say that it was good seeing you, July. We are halfway through this year, and we are going into, or I'm sorry, June. What, did I say June or July? I meant June. I had July on the mind because I want to talk about 4th of July today, and so that's where we're at. I got to quit touching the spot on my forehead because why? Well, why not? Oh, my gosh. What is this? I can't get the comments to come up because it decided to log me out. I don't understand this stuff. Why the computer just decides every now and again, it's just, hey, yeah, log you out. It doesn't matter. And then we can't find it. Oh, my goodness. So, I love how I can't get into the account now. That's awesome. Oh, the things we do for fun. Well, anyway, let's go with the theme today as I was wanting to go down that path of the 4th of July for our birthday. America itself, I again, let's kind of go back to the basics of what we think of America, right? So America is a group of states that are actually ran by like individual countries who pay into a membership called America. And I want you to think of it in this way because it's too many times we run out there and we're like, no, listen, we know what it is. It's, oh, America, it's, well, you know, it's a country, it's federal, it's all this other stuff. Well, the sad part of it is that a lot of what you're saying when you say federal and all that other stuff is because of the Lincoln put us into the Federalist model just before the Civil War. So that's a whole thing we have to kind of rectify. Now, when our country was born, there was 10 years where we didn't have a government. And everybody's like, well, 1776, George Washington. No, we had yearly presidents, and we had 10 presidents prior to going into what we call now the rotation, like we have with the presidents like George Washington and others who started the whole cycle of things. Now, in the beginning, the way our country was ran, it was ran by the states themselves. The House would go and elect the senators that would then represent the states. So each state would then hire a group of representatives that would then go to Washington and they would represent him. But before they left, they would then, or to go to the local state house, but when they got to the local state house, they would then elect 2 senators to then go. Now, this has been a variation and this has changed quite a bit over the years. I'm just using broad strokes, kind of trying to get you there, that the idea of what you think America is today is not how she started. Now, look, when I bought my Ford truck, and I bought it, it's still a Ford truck. I put different tires on it, a little bit of a lift kit, different intake, and that's about it. But it's still the same Ford truck. There's been a couple little things, but I didn't change the motor. I didn't change the paint. I didn't change the doors. I didn't change the bed on it. And it's pretty much exactly like it was, other than the tires that wore out. I've put other tires on. And the lift kit, it's been on there since day one. So, these are all these different processes that I want to talk about in that our country is not original. We're not OG anything. We're not back there. We're like, oh, hey, we got this all figured out. We're still doing it. We're doing exactly like we were. Sad part of it is we have things like the Supreme Court. We have local judges. We have precedents. And a little bit of an explanation yesterday of why that there was this precedence that was brought into the Supreme Court's judgment on the ballot counting. Now, if you look at the ballot counting thing, that whole thing of the ballot counting thing, they ruled on that as a precedence, that there had already been lower court precedents that had said, no, this is how we're going to interpret the law because other judges have interpreted it this way. And guys, this is part of the cool kids club of things where you see that they won't go against each other. They won't go against each other. They won't go out of their way to rewrite what another lawyer or judge has done, or another failed lawyer called a judge has done. So again, this is a process that we really have gotten ourselves into, and I wish that it could be changed, but I don't know how to change it other than you go back and say, I want everything original. I keep telling you guys, we're not conservative. We're not really even America. What we have done in the last 40 to 50 years has been so completely not American that when everybody's talking about how conservative Trump is, it just pisses me off. Trump's not conservative. Trump's he's a Clinton Democrat at best. Back when Clinton was a Democrat in Arkansas. The sad part of it is that he's not conservative in the way we think conservatism. Yes, he loves the country the way a lot of people say they love the country. But to say that you're an actual originalist, I guess is where we want to go with this, we're not even close to that math at all. And even myself, I don't think I'm as close to being as a conservative or a true original OG American, meaning I want to go back to the original America. That's a bit of a stretch that I don't think people want to go to because they think, oh, we're so far, we're holding our conservative values. We're really, we're holding on to it like we're being barely drug away from it, like we still got an arm wrapped around the pole, and the liberals are trying to pull us in a direction, right? Guys, no, we're completely screwed off. Like, absolutely. There's no conservatism. There's no OG originalism to America. I know that sounds like I'm, kind of, like I'm really kind of like making this fantastic idea that, oh, America is not what it used to be, and, oh, you should feel bad and all this other stuff. Guys, just really look at it. How much do we argue about the Declaration of Independence? How much do we argue about the Constitution? We don't. We don't actually go back to the original conversation. And see, this is what, for me, when I was going in through this and looking at the Constitution when I ran for office, I had a debate with a vice principal of the largest school in Kansas, told me that the Constitution is an outdated document that should never be referenced to whatsoever in creating laws or the society that we live in today. That was a vice principal of the largest city or largest school in Kansas. And I was having this conversation when I said, well, no, we don't need to have the conversation where the last conversation stopped. We don't need to have the argument where the last argument stopped. We need to go back always to the Constitution and start there with each conversation, not building off the last one until we're 1,000 miles away from the Constitution. No, we should actually be looking at finding a way for us to go back to that, but we can't. Because we like all the public schools and the universities and the health care and all the freebies that Govey gives us. Oh, Govey, you're so warm and you make me feel so good about me. I just love the government. Give me more free stuff, Govey. You're so good to me. And if you guys want to sit around and you want to say that you don't take advantage of it, then don't ever call 911. Don't go get yourself a lawyer. Don't do any of that and unplug from the system. Let's see how far you can actually go. How far can you go without your government? See, that's the problem for me. When I talk to people, how far can you live without your government? Can you live without the Social Security that you think you deserve? Can you live without that Medicaid or Medicare that you think you deserve? Can you actually just go put a well on your property and purify and get your own water from the earth? Can you actually sustain yourself on your own piece of property without having any outside things? Oh, but wait, the government says you owe them some taxes, so how are you going to do that? How are you going to pay for your taxes if you're not part of this system? See, the problem is the government has gone so far to make sure that in every single part of your life that they are fully integrated. But I want to say, can we go back to true OG original Americanism? Can we go back to the original where we never talked to the government about permits for our house? We never talked to the government about permits to store rainwater on our property. We never went and got permits. Oh, well, that's public safety, Jimmy. Safety. Oh, that's right. We do it because safety. That's the word. That's what I was looking for. We need to make sure that it's safety. Safety. That's the only way. That's the only way to get it, right? Is through safety. When we are safe, then everybody's better, right? So when we make sure that everybody's house is built to a certain standard, we have safety, right? When you say that you want the government to tell other people what to do, that means the government gets to tell you what to do. So it's a problem for us when we don't really think about what we're asking. When we say we are conservatives and we want America to stay conservative, well, which part of stay do you mean? Like stay today? Stay 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 10, 12, 100 years ago? I would love to go back 100 and at least 20 years ago. Back in the 1910s, when we still had some sovereignty left, when we still had an economy, when we still had gold-backed currency, when we could still buy something, and we knew that a currency in our pockets actually gained value. See, that right there is a problem for a lot of us, that we don't actually think that way, that we don't think about how our dollars deflate in value year after year, but yet before the fiat currency and the Federal Reserve, we kept all of our money. We kept money, and it gained value. So when we talk about America, when we talk about these things, let's talk about it in a way that we can say, well, what do we want it to go back to? What do we want it to look like? How do we want America to really be? What does that look like to you? Hey, Dave Glevin, Brenda, good to see you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I have still not gotten my password for the chat, so I'm not able to see all of your guys' chats. I'm looking on different things now to be able to see them on the websites. Anyway, I do appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. I can't believe I can't find this. It is a breathtakingly mind-numbing that I cannot get to my password. I'm trying to look it up so I can get to the password, and then and I can't find it. Sorry, guys. I will have to fiddle fart around and hope that I can see you guys' comments when they do come up. So now I want to talk a little. So let me do this. I'm going to do this less distracted because I was trying to do two things at once, which isn't always fair to you guys. If we went back to what America was, we would not have the banking industry that we have today. We would not have the mortgage industry we have today. We would not have the healthcare industry we have today. They would not be consumptive. They would not be coming after us. They would not be chewing our legs off of us constantly. But the sad part of it is that we accept this, what we see right now. We accept, well, no, it's the greatest healthcare in the world, Jimmy. We can't get rid of it. Is it? Is it? Because I spent 6 days in ICU at $100,000 a day, And, I'm a vet, and I'm still getting bills from that. Why is it that I'm getting bills as a disabled vet, but yet, do you see what? That right there, that little broken part of the system, let's just go with that little part. How about the part that they didn't bathe me for 6 days while I was in there? How about the part where they couldn't control my pain and they left me in pain almost the entire time I was there? My heart rate was over 120 something every single day and night, because of the amount of pain I was in. My respirations were so high because I was in pain and they wouldn't regulate it. So again, tell me where healthcare helped. Well, if you need a surgery, do I need a surgery, or they told me I need a surgery? See, the last time I checked, the only time I ever think I might or maybe need a surgery is if I was going to have a bone put back together inside my body, which is an orthopedic situation. Guys, I'm telling you right now, it is terrifying to say that you guys are seeking out the medical industry when there are so many things that you can describe in it that will tell you that are absolutely wrong, and you would not want them to be doing things to your body, but people are like, no, we're fine, we're good, yeah, let's do this. How about, we wouldn't have any fire departments anymore. Okay? We wouldn't have any police departments anymore. Okay? We wouldn't have public schools anymore. Okay? Well, none of these things are bothering me at all. I don't call the cops for anything. I don't look for the cops for anything. I don't look to them for my safety. I don't look for them for my leadership. I don't look to them to get through my day. Oh, I'm so thankful that the cops are here. I go throughout my day and I never think of them, and I don't think of them. Oh, no, you need them in emergencies. Do I? Do I? Because the sad part of it is that even if I called them for an emergency, do you know that a lot of times what you're actually seeing now is people that are getting billed for emergencies? Municipalities are now billing people for certain things, just like when Charlie would fall down at the house because he had his ankles fused, so he was very clumsy in that way. And he would fall down, they would have to call the fire department. The fire department said, well, we're going to have to send you a bill for picking him up in his own yard. So guys, if you want to tell me that I need the fire department because I'm paying taxes with it already, then why was it that we had to pay the fire department to pick Charlie up out of the yard? He just fell down, he couldn't get up, so he needed someone just to lift him up, to stand him up, and then he was fine. He didn't need to go to the hospital, he wasn't injured or anything like that, he just would stumble in the yard and need to be picked back up. So if you're telling me that, then why do I have to pay for those services on top of paying for those services? See, this is a part where I continue to show you guys that you keep saying that you need the government, but who told you that? The government? Who told you you needed the government to exist? Who told you that? So this is, again, one of those things I wonder when we say that we believe or we need or this or that, I wonder if in reality, if we actually, hey, Tony Cole, we're good to see you. If we actually just, guys, we are so programmed. Now, I'm leading this into something that we had to deal with today. Now, there was a big release of CIA documents about MK Ultra. And if you guys don't know about MK Ultra, let me just talk about it for just a second, okay? Let me talk about it just for a second. MK Ultra was also part of Project Bluebeam, there's a lot of different quote-unquote projects, and these all came out of DARPA. Now, DARPA is a private entity that uses government money to go do things that governments can't. Now, if you want to say that I'm speaking out of turn, I'm doing whatever, go do your own research. It's not hard to find. None of the stuff I'm saying about right now is hard to find. I'm saying everything that's completely researchable online, everything is completely open. But I will tell you that there are a lot of evidences of the government still hasn't released everything they have, but they tried destroying most of everything they had as well. So even back in the 50s and 60s, there was a huge thing around where the people were throwing pallets of documents in fire pits, pallets, 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot tall of pallets of paper, of documents, of research, of findings, of files of people that were manipulated and used by the government. Now, let me talk about the MK Ultra of it for just a second. Now, our minds are very powerful, but anything that is that powerful can also be manipulated, because the greater the strength, the more that people want to mess with it. It's just a thing. It's just how people are. Now, I'll tell you that our brain has the ability to do things that you don't even understand how your own brain works most of the time. Your brain is a soft piece of fat. It is not anything else that you're trying to think of right now. Your brain is fat. If you stop eating fat, you will not have a brain. You will get dumber. This is not a Jim Price thing. This is an AMA psychological research. You go look it up yourself. When you lower the fat content in your food, your brain shrinks. It's life. ATP, which is created as a energy source in the brain, is brought in by collagen and also creatine. Creatine is a big part of ATP. Collagen is also part of that. That's also helps keep your skin smooth. But your brain does so much, it even actually has extended itself out into the front where we call them eyes. Our eyes are an extension of our brain. It's as simple as that. But you continue on with that. You say, well, your eyes are an extension of your brain. Well, you said there was more that I didn't know. Did you know your eyes only see about 1 inch by 1 inch square of high definition reality, and everything else your mind makes up? That your nervous system that goes from the stem of the brain out to the very ends of the fingers loop back through the fascia, the little silver lining between your skin and your muscle and your tissues inside. So as your electrical signals go out through the body and it pushes it out, it then circulates back through the outer casing of the body called the fascia. The fascia actually is shown to actually be what moves the body more than the muscles. The muscles are hormone pumps. But the mind itself is so incredibly powerful, it doesn't want to work. It likes to turn things off. It likes to put things on autopilot. Now, knowing that how the mind is a lazy thing, that it likes to do things lazily by making things up, putting things in spots where, I only want to see this little square right here of high definition, everything else, I'll just make that up. Now, too many times we run around and we're like, well, no, I know how my brain works. I know this, I know that. I took some SSRIs. I got my antidepressants in. I got my cholesterol pill. I got this, I got that. The mind is easily manipulated, guys. Sugar manipulates the mind. Red dye manipulates the mind. There are all kinds of medications, including cholesterol medications, that causes you to hallucinate. Did you know that? Oh, yeah. There's a lot of the drugs that we take that are like statins and these other things that actually do cause people to see images or not see things that are there. So the mind itself and its ability to comprehend and do those things and calculations that you can do thinking while talking or thinking. You can think about something but still be thinking about something else. Your mind has all this plasticity to it, and it can get bigger and bigger, and it can create all kinds of neural pathways. You can do all kinds of stuff with lion's mane to make sure the brains are firing back and forth and doing all the good stuff. But the worst part of it is we don't realize if we don't put the salt in our body and we don't put our fat in our body, the brain's not going to work. But let's go back to MK Ultra. So this all started back actually mostly 200 years ago now, where they were able to see through hypnotism and other types of conversational things to take control of someone's subconscious. What they would say is their the part of the mind that can be controlled externally. And they know that they can go in and manipulate things, and they can do that, and they've learned how to do that through the little watch back and forth, as I don't know how to, see, look at this, watch my, So it's, remember all those movies? Well, watch my finger. Yeah, now you're getting sleepy. You're getting sleepy. Whoa, ho, ho. You know all that stuff? Well, that is actually making fun and actually trying to trivialize what is actually done, where they can go into and manipulate the mind. Now, in the beginning, they had to have a person in person, right? Hey, I want to manipulate your mind. I'm going to say these suggestive things to get you to the point where you will lower your guard down, and I can then give you suggestions, and you'll bark like a dog, quack like a duck, and cluck like a chicken. But about 130 years ago, it was found out that blue light, hyper white, bright white, that we have an LED, that the blue light and a frequency could move cattle miles away, could move cattle 100 feet away. They could manipulate entire herds of cattle with blue light and frequency. But where did they get that information from? Well, that was information that the cattle ranchers had already kind of figured out on their own, but they actually had gotten part of that from psychology, because they understood that certain lights could create certain moods, just like certain paint colors can cause certain feelings. That's why you see a lot of these prisons are gray and dull, and they're very cold, and the colors are very because they're trying to keep the emotion down. Yeah, color can create all kinds of stimulus in the brain. Sight is the brain. So you bring information in, light and images through the brain, but then the sound. So what I can do is I can send images. If I wanted to, if I was the government, I could make sure that my image looked like Jim Price here, the Jim Price Show, talking to you, but there's a little color hue to it that kind of keeps you drawn in so you won't pull away. It's got a little extra blue, little light blues in there you don't see with the eyes, because it all just looks white or looks yellow, but you don't realize the blue is on the back side and is killing your dopamine, so you won't leave, so you won't run away. So back in the 50s and 60s, they had figured out that in television, to tell a vision, you could actually go in with the light from the TV and the sound and the image. But when color television came in 65, where it really hit all the way across the board, color television was the thing. Movies, television was all out there, right? So now they got the sound. Now they got the colors. Now they got the images. And they can put images that are not seen on the screen, but these little shadowed images that the mind does read. Now, one thing they won't tell you about is there are thousands and thousands and thousands of light receptors that are in the eye that are not part of the cones and rod in the back of the eye. Yes, here on the front face of the eye, even where you don't see the aperture, there is all these little spots. They're called non-ocular light receptors. They're called non-ocular light receptors. They're all in your eyes, all in here. It has nothing to do with what you're seeing, because it's sensing the light from all around, all making sure it's getting everything in there. But they know if they pump a bunch of blue in there, that you won't run, that you won't stand up, that you won't get mad, that you don't care about Epstein, you don't care about the Federal Reserve, you don't care about this, you don't care about that. And they know that because they know what the big thing is, because they went into people's minds. And we're going through the 40s and the 50s, 30s, 40s, and the 50s, and it got really heavy in the 50s. In the 60s, they really mastered it, and they knew how they could manipulate masses. And so by the time 2006 comes around, they turn off heavy metal music in the mainstream of the music industry because it causes people to rage against the machine, right? That band, Rage Against the Machine, the Motley Crues, those loud music. Well, they weren't controllable. You couldn't put in types of frequencies and things into the music that would calm them down. In fact, it would amp them up and make them want to stand up more against their government and other tyrannical things. So they turned off rock music and they gave you what? They gave you grunge. Oh, hey, man, I got crappy hair and a flannel shirt. I'm a grunge band. So that's where all that came in, guys. And that's all, folks. The manipulation of the human through music was really the easiest because the kids latched onto it. And so they knew that ones that had certain IQs that were below a certain mark would be manipulated by certain rhythmic speaking and rhythmic music with a heartbeat. Boom, 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 boom. And it would lower the heart rate down to synchronize in with that music, and it would make it to where you did not want to fight back. Now, guys, I know you're like, well, what does this got to do with MK Ultra? What does this got to do with mind manipulation? Has everything to do with that, guys. So as they figured out how they could do all this stuff and they could do it, they started getting better at it. And so when they knew that they could bring the television, see, they figured out they could do a little bit with the radio. They had a little bit there with the radio, a little here or there. They could do a few things with the radio. They could get people to get up and react. See, remember the War of the Worlds? That was actually a great big experiment to see how the American public would actually react with certain frequencies placed into the radio program that everybody listened to. But we don't want to talk about that because we wouldn't think that the government would come in to a radio station and say, hey, we'll pay you an X amount of money because we want to see if this actually works. We wouldn't have a government using DARPA programs to spray LSD all over New Orleans and Cleveland and Chicago. Yes, they were sending certain types of psychedelics, not like a mushroom psychedelic, which is a dissociative that turns your ego off and actually heals you. We're talking about things that actually make you see things, like things that are not good for you, things that are making you hallucinate. Mushrooms are dissociative. They do not make you hallucinate. They were taking drugs and making people see images and have feelings that were not natural to their body. And there are things in MK Ultra that will show you that they were aerosol spraying through the air over the entire city. Psst, just spraying to see how many people would show up to the hospital complaining of chest tightness. Complaining of seeing images, complaining of visual distortion, complaining of being disoriented, not knowing where they were. And then they tracked those people to the locations when they knew it would be sprayed. So they could see the effects on the general population and how they can manipulate great masses of people. We know that. We know they were putting things in the water. We know that they've been putting things in food. We know all that stuff. And by the way, do you know that George Bush Sr. has more to do with aspartame being in diet soda than he has to do with going into Iraq or Iran? Just saying. So when we moved out of those eras of manipulation through the War of the Worlds, and we moved out of that era of manipulation going into the television, and then we were able to go and put you into a movie theater where we had you in a perfect hermetic seal of sound, light, and image. And then how many movies have you stood at or sat there at and you, it scared you? Or you laughed really hard, or you cried really hard? See, the problem is they know the music to get the heartstrings going, to get you crying. They know the music to get you into where you get anxiety and you're on that edge of fear where you don't know what's going to happen next. And so you're going to overreact with any sudden movement. They know these things because they mastered these things. They spent decades, if not centuries, on doing this. First, idea was about going in and being able to manipulate other countries to keep them from attacking us or thinking that we're bad people. But the sad part of it is in the 50s and 60s, we started using that on everybody. Not just other countries, everybody. And then in 2014, Uncle Barry, yes, your great American hero, Obama, said, oh, let's just allow for propaganda right on the old airwaves without even being subversive. We'll just allow it to be out there the whole way. So I can legally go into my programming on my show. I can go in and I can manipulate the colors and I can manipulate the sounds and I can manipulate the images to make sure that you are going to stay addicted to my show. And that's completely legal. You don't get the choice of whether you want to watch. I get to manipulate you because I want you to watch. Think about that. I have the ability, and I could go through, and I know what they did, and I know how they did it. I could go through and manipulate you to where you want to watch this because it's not because of me, I got any good information. It's because I can actually manipulate you through the technology and the screen. It's that simple. So, what has this got to do with now? What has this got to do with today in America and all the things we're going through? Well, it's because, let me do this. I have watched the innocence of the government program, just like the internet. The internet, and when it originally came about, Cambridge, was it Cambridge and Stanford, or Stanford and, it was Stanford and another college in California, that they were sending data back and forth. Now, I remember in the 80s when I had a Commodore 64 that I could use, I remember there was a dial modem that you had to put your handset into this cradle and it would go just like we had AOL. Remember AOL and all that whole thing? Well, that's what it was like back in the day, but it was so archaic. It was so slow. It took forever to get anything done. But it was faster, a few hours of the internet going back and forth, or days or weeks to wait for an envelope or a package at the door. So in the innocence of what the internet was great. Oh, cool, this is a cool thing. Like right now, we have the ability for you guys to watch me live because we have the internet. Because the Internet of Things is actually not too bad when it's used in this way. But when that changes is when you start seeing the other stuff come in. Just like in government programs, the innocence of the Social Security program is that, yeah, sometimes there's people down there at the very, 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 very bottom that just need a little bit. And that's okay. But then it became a program for everyone. And then it said, well, if we have money coming in, why don't we have health care? Well, here's health care too. Well, if they get health care, how come I don't get health care? I'm disabled. They're just retired. Oh, well, we better do disability. Oh, and disability insurance. And then, just like what WIC was supposed to be was a supplemental for pregnant mothers to make sure they had plenty of milk around the house and plenty of peanut butter and cheese, things that brought on protein into the body. So as you were having those younger children, you had that little extra there, the things that they tend to consume the most of. That was what WIC was supposed to be. Well, nope, now everybody gets WIC. I want WIC, you get WIC, we all get WIC. You get 29 gallons of crappy juice full of sugar. You get 3 gallons of milk. Oh, yeah. By the way, they give out gallons of juice. And it has nothing to do with real fruit juice. Has nothing to do with actual juice that will benefit the body by nutrition or vitamins or anything like that. No, it's just juice, like Hawaiian Punch. The only thing Hawaiian Punch is good in is some coconut rum. Makes a pretty good rum punch. But anyway. But my point is that when something in its innocence starts out, it's kind of a cool little thing. But when everybody keeps touching it and putting their little spin on it, and their little this on it, and little this on it, and little this on it, and someone just wants to take a little advantage, and 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 next thing you know, it's not the internet we thought it was. Now, granted, if you want to go on to the internet and you want to look at whatever it is you think you want to look at, you can type that in and find it. But just looking around on the internet, you don't find bad stuff. But it is out there, and there's plenty of it. Can I ask a quick question here? Who told us that looking at the nude body was the problem? That's just a simple little question. Because the last time I checked, I think the human body is an amazing, amazing thing. But yet we all infer certain things into our lives, including clothing and language and certain patterns that are nowhere to be found. But when we want to, it's just, I don't know. I just wonder what we think we're doing when we continue to go down this path. We don't really know what we're talking about most of the time. We don't know what the Internet of Things, what I mean by that, what it was to have it back when it was still innocent. To have TV back in the black and white when it was still innocent. But here's the sad part. You know what I've actually found now in the black and whites? I've been finding the dudes. Yeah, there's not the MK Ultra mind control stuff going on in those things. But there's a lot of dudes that are acting like chicks. There's a lot of chicks in there. I'm going to tell you right now, I have gone back and I have freeze framed the thing. I'm like looking at it like, is that an Adam's apple? Are you a dude? You got shoulders like a linebacker. Hey, you're a chick? So anyway, yeah, going back to the black and whites and things like that before I like trying to watch things that are in the 50s at best. Maybe a little bit of the 60s. There's very few of the 60s stuff that doesn't have propaganda in it. But remember your Pentagon has an entire budget for movies and entertainment and music that they actually are still manipulating today, guys. The MK Ultra that I'm trying to describe to you has nothing to do with how bad it really is today. The MK Ultra is what they're willing to tell you. And now what they're not willing to tell you is how bad the manipulation really is and how much they can really touch you. Now, let's go one more step further on what I mean by this. They actually have the technology now. That they can actually send a frequency out on any cell phone tower, any cellular device, any tablet, any laptop. Yeah. And by the way, even the wires in your walls can be used as frequency modulation to be able to send signal to your brain to make you think you're talking to yourself and telling yourself to kill yourself, to go shoot the president, to go shoot Charlie Kirk. Guys, when I heard about Charlie Kirk being shot, and it was a 30-06, first red flag. Tells me that person was a patsy and brought there through the mind manipulation, which we know is MK Ultra and other types. Just like Project Bluebeam is them able to put images into the sky using the water in the air to be able to make it look like a plane is flying past you instead of something else. They can cloak things. Hey, Rhonda, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. The heart attack, listen to me for a second. The heart attack frequency of every person's heart. The world was mapped through maps and satellite, the world was mapped through satellites globally to be able to catch the frequency of every single individual on Earth, keeping them 6 feet from each other. Just like they found the pilot 3 months ago in the mountain, in a cave, inside of a cave in a mountain range, they found the dude's heartbeat. Their ability to manipulate you is real. Now, There are some things, products out there, very simple products that can actually keep you from being manipulated through these things. But the CIA released a lot of stuff about MK Ultra again today. And this is the stuff that they're willing to tell you. Not because they're telling you this because they don't want you knowing about what they can really, 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 really do. And that's the sad part. That's why, guys, the entire basis of this show, the 100%, the ask, the why do I do this show, is that statement right there. Because my government cannot be honest with me. And I will continue to demand honesty and forthright information from my government until the day I am no longer here. And I would expect you to pick up the mantle and do the same thing in your world the best way you know how, is to hold your government accountable and say, no, I want the records. I want the information. I want to know what you're thinking. I know what you're doing, and I want to know everything. I don't care if it makes you embarrassed. I don't care if it embarrasses America. Put it out there. I'm tired of this. We're paying for transgender mice research in third world countries. Come on, guys. Seriously, you don't think we're doing some really bad things around this world? Like, we're paying for transgender shrimp studies or gay studies on shrimp or something. What? What are we really doing out there? Can we just have that? And can we just be honest with each other? That's what this show and all the griping and all the complaining about MK Ultra and the things that I wish that we could get straight is just so that we could actually just get to the truth, and no more lies, no more BS, no more of the, got to read between the lines. Can we just be honest? That's it. That's all I want. That's why I get mad about when I hear the government saying things like, we're releasing all this MK Ultra stuff so you guys will know because we're just so transparent. No, you're not. Don't do that. Don't do that. They're not honest, and that's the part that I gripe about. I know that I get on here and I get to going and I get to blah, 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 and Jim's upset and Jim's this and that. Guys, I'm just defending you guys from a system that's trying to keep you in the dark as much as possible. And here's the thing, guys. You guys don't even get as much darkness, which is far brighter than a mushroom. I mean, you guys are so far in the dark that there's not even mushrooms that can grow in there. That's how much of a mushroom. You guys are worse than mushrooms because you're so far in the dark about what the government is really saying to you and what it's really doing to you. That if you got into the area where mushrooms go, you would think it was like the surface of the sun. It's so bright. That's how much of the dark you guys are. You're not even picking up what they're putting down. And it's hard for me to watch a lot of this because if we just quit saying, okay, government, thank you, and get the pat, if we just push back against them, we can start getting that honesty. We can start pushing into them and say, no, we want you to be truthful with us. But that takes effort from you guys. Well, guys, that's going to be about it for me. I am going to be gone. Right now, there's a couple things coming up that I may be back here in Wichita for a day or two next week, or at least a day. We'll see how it goes. I'm not sure on how that'll work. I do have a conference in Vegas next weekend. This 4th of July, I'm going to be in D.C. I'll be leaving out first thing in the morning to get out of here. And once I get out of get there, I'm going to be in D.C. I'll get back. Should be back either, it could be back as early as Monday, if not by Tuesday. Just letting you kind of know where I'm at. I'm going to try to post shows while I'm out if I can. Just be mindful of me while I'm out there. I will be driving out. That's way cheaper than the airline. Airlines are quite a bit more right now. So it just seemed like it makes sense. And by the way, I saw a report this morning that D.C. has had a bunch of near misses again this week. I don't want to fly in there all of a sudden. But anyway, that's about it for me, guys. It's good seeing you. I do have a little bit of time coming up I'm going to take here. If you guys have any questions or comments, get a hold of me. Like I said, I will try to post videos when I can about things that are going on while I'm in D.C. and other things like that. Just kind of look for them. If I don't post something throughout the day or go live, and if I do, it should post out the regular time, 4 p.m. Central, if I'm going to put one out there. All right, guys. I appreciate everything. Remember, donate to the show as often as possible. It keeps the lights on. Remember that? All right, the 10% we do for our neighbor, community, city, county, state, the federal government, the more you do for them, the less they have to do for you. Learn how to be selfless and not so damn selfish. There will be a far, far better place. Remember, hold the line, hold fast, do not give up, do not give in. We'll win. I promise and promise I can't keep, guys. You've always been the answer out there. Remember, the Constitution limits the government, but never limits you. You have the authority. Do not give it away to people who do not deserve it or people who are trying to control your mind. How about that? Don't give yourself over to a government that wants to put thoughts into your head, making it sound like your voice. I don't know. All right, guys, that's going to be about it for me. I'm Jim Price at Jim Price Show Daily Update. You guys all be good to each other out there.